San Diego-based Jack in the Box has given up the search for a buyer. The company has taken itself off the market, reportedly deciding to refinance its debt instead. We're talking about that, plus other headline-making business news for this week's Friday Business Report with Miro Copic from SDSU and Bottom Line Marketing. So, Miro, why was Jack in the Box a West Coast favorite looking for a buyer in the first place?
Well, Jack in the Box is a national platform. They've got 2,200 locations, but they're tiny compared to McDonald's or Burger King. They were starting to struggle. Their same-store sales were declining. They have activist shareholders who are against management. For the first time, all franchisees are against the new CEO's policies. So it forced the board to look at strategic alternatives, potentially find a buyer, and it looks like they didn't find one, or at least no one gave them a bid that was attractive enough. And so they're going to refinance their business.
And will this help? Refinancing?
You know, refinancing will, because, you know, their performance over the last 6 months has been relatively flat. And what they're going to do, it's just think about if you're refinancing your mortgage, you might add a little bit more because you want to put on that new patio or build that pool. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to offer the securitized debt to investors. They're going to take out their current loans, and they're going to raise a little extra money to either pay for marketing, pay for better operations, or maybe buy back shares to get rid of those activist investors.
So next up, at&t plans to lay off technicians here in California, more than 100 in San Diego. What happened to the company's pledge back in 2017 to create thousands of new positions?
You know, it's really interesting. They made this pledge when the Tax Cut Act was enacted. A lot of companies did. at&t is really struggling as a company. So the technicians that they're talking about are people who work on DirecTV or slower DSL type internet services. The demands for those services are declining. So DirecTV is really struggling with DirecTV, with their long distance business. So all these technicians need to find new jobs. It's unfortunate. It's a highly competitive environment. Even their cell phone business, which is very successful, the growth is slowing. So I know that they made this pledge. They've actually cut 23,000 jobs. And hopefully as they reframe themselves as a company, they'll be more competitive. But two things that they've done. One is they still pay a very healthy dividend, so they could save some of that money and adjust and invest in the business. And then secondly, they got over $20 billion in tax relief. They bought back a lot of shares, and some of that money went to actually investing in new technology. So that's kind of the status with at&t.
And finally, the trade war between the U.S. and China continues. Farmers say that they're hurting. Car makers say they're hurting. If this continues, which industries stand to lose the most? Well,
it's interesting. Every industry is going to lose. And here's why. You know, we talked about last week that the president extended tariffs on $200 billion worth of goods last Friday. On Monday, he announced that he was ready to put on 25% tariffs on the remaining $300 billion in trade. That means everything from apparel to handbags to hats to cars to computers are going to cost more. In fact, this week the markets have been crazy. You know, the market plunged over 600 points on Monday, but because corporate earnings have been fairly strong, the market has staged a rally this week. But they're very concerned about what the next round of negotiations are going to be.
Miro Copic with SDSU and Bottom Line Marketing, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ebony.